Hello. Welcome to another edition of Dirt Road Divinity. I'm your host, Lisa Wade, and I am so excited to have with me here today, Michael Ruth.
Hello.
Hi, I'm just so glad that you were willing to join. Your background and the things you are into now fascinate me. And just to give our listeners a little bit of an idea, a very high level idea of who you are. Health and wellness advocate.
Yes.
Yoga teacher.
Yes.
Educator.
Thinker. Recent yoga studio owner.
I love this.
Yeah. Health and wellness coach. Navy vet.
Thank you. By the way,
I've done. Thank you very much. I've done a little bit of everything. I had a long career in the surgical world. Had a private practice. I was an orthopedic surgical first assist, and specialized in neurospine and orthopedics. Wow. And kind of got burnt out on that and went through a health and wellness program. Ended up losing 100 pounds and regaining my life back. And from that point forward, there was no other choice but for me to just reclaim my life, my time, my energy, and help others do the same. So that's what me and my wife do now. We have a at-home business and also own a yoga studio. We're both yoga teachers, and life is great.
And you're based out of Tulsa, right?
Yes, Tulsa. Oklahoma.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yoga in Tulsa. I love it. And I love the fact that it seems, not that I've been stalking you or anything. Mm. However, I love your posts on Facebook. They're so inspiring and uplifting. And it seems to me that you recognize that there is not a one-size-fits-all approach for all people to either health and wellness or spiritual development or life or whatever. And that you honor that and that you bring that into your teaching and into your yoga studio as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, because we're all complicated beings and we all come from different backgrounds. So it's not like a one size fits all kind of thing. Like when you go to a personal trainer, it's supposed to be personal. And I don't think you can get real personal in the 1 hour a week that you're seeing them or whatever. Like when I'm health coaching, I want to get to know the whys of why you want to change your life, why you want to reclaim your time, reclaim your energy, reclaim your mind. So when it comes to yoga and things like that, spiritual practice, I want people to come who are open to just learning, to stepping up to another level, who want to hear everything and then come to a conclusion, not just listen to one way and then go that way. I want a comprehensive decision made on where you want to take your life.
I love it. When I, way back in the day, decided to take up running, I picked up, running books and stuff that were geared toward runners. But the problem is I'm an older gal, not exactly thin, and I've got the legs of a corgi dog, So this whole approach of how everybody else approaches running didn't work for me. Yeah. And then I found a group called Not Your Average Runner, and it's for, those of us who don't fit the mold. And it feels like your approach to yoga is somewhat similar in the sense of really being open and welcoming and encouraging of folks who might not find, a super comfortable fit elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was running into when I first got into yoga. After I lost all that weight and got healthy and got my wellness where I needed to be, optimal health. I was looking for other ways to continue that, and yoga kind of spoke to me. I got into it my wife actually convinced me to get into it. She's been in it for years. I mean, that's where she comes from. She is actually Indian. Her parents are from India, and that's just her culture. So she's always spoken about the magic, the wonders, the healing properties of it. So I finally started to get into it and started going around in Tulsa, and I was finding yoga, but I wasn't finding what I needed.
Yeah.
I wasn't finally finding the safe spaces that I needed to set up for healing. So oftentimes I would go to these studios and end up leaving in a worse off manner than when I came, just because there was no one like me around there. There was no
Mm.
representation,
Yep.
and representation matters. And especially in Tulsa, in this area, we definitely need that. We need safe spaces to heal. For us, we need to be around people that have to breathe like us. That's one thing that I kind of say, like, I was in these spaces and no one in there was having to deal with the problems that I had to deal with on a daily basis. No one was having to breathe like me. No one understood. I wasn't going into these places looking for like this spa experience. I needed some real healing. And I found that in yoga, and we needed a place where we wanted to be.
Mm.
And that's what we did. And it's open to everybody who is open to doing the work that it takes for real healing.
Mm. I admire that so much. So much. The idea of, if you don't see what fits, recognizing that there are probably other people, undoubtedly other people who are in a similar situation who aren't
Yes.
finding what fits, and then having the courage and the determination to create it. To just make
Yes.
it.
You have to put yourself out there. Um, a journey like this takes vulnerability,
Mm.
and a lot of people don't realize that. Like, for healing, it takes vulnerability. You have to be honest with yourself and ask the real questions. And I think that's what's um, our society is kind of lacking in. They don't want the real answers. They don't want the real answers of why they need to drink a bottle of wine after work. You know,
Yeah.
they don't want to answer that, because then that would peel back some layers of maybe some trauma that they don't want to deal with. Uh, so that's what we're about. We're about peeling back layers and getting to the real root issues of our health and wellness.
That's fantastic. When I first came across you, in social media, and I was so, as someone who can read energy, I was just stunned by your energy in your pictures and in your
Yeah,
posts. And I was like, I want to get to know this guy, because I can tell there is something there that you just have a lot to offer to
yeah,
the world. And as we started chatting back and forth and realizing we share an interest in ancient Egypt and
yes,
many of the
yes,
teachings that come from that, and I know that that's inspired some of your yoga practice as well. Could you
yes.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I study and practice Kemetic Yoga and Egyptian yoga, which is called Samai Tawi, which means the union between the two lands,
Mm.
which that refers to Upper and Lower Egypt, which were usually in conflict. But during the good times in Egypt was when they got together, when they were in peace, because that's when trade was happening. That's when no wars were happening. That's when education and architecture were happening. So these were good times. So that's when they found that balance. And in that culture, in that mindset, that balance is called Ma'at.
Mm.
And everything rests on Ma'at. She represents truth and justice and reciprocity and all the positive energy. So like in our lives, we have to find that balance. And that's what my yoga practice is about, and it's helped me so much, just finding that balance that there is a lower and a higher half, and it's not an evil or a good versus evil. It's like we have to find this balance, and that's what I love about it, because it's welcoming. It's a mindset shift. It's a mindset change. Plus, it it spoke to me because of the African spirituality of it. I was able to connect with that, and with the yoga practice, you actually connect to certain deities, certain gods, and what they represent. So that's another mental aspect. So it's like a psychophysical program that you're doing. It's not about a religion or anything like that. It's about connecting and finding balance in all aspects of your life, physical, spiritual, mental. It's a complete program.
I love it. I love it. And as you're talking about that, and I'm thinking it was a year ago right now that
Mhm.
the last time I was in Egypt, and so it's been fun to be remembering the
Yeah.
journey and the balance that has come through that, but also how the different deities. Like today, it was the goddess Sekhmet, who was like the lioness-headed goddess, who was considered both fierce and also a healer.
Yes.
The goddess Hathor
Doctors
is another one.
doctors followed Sekhmet.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Hathor, who was seen as more, joy, love, compassion, fertility, dancing, music, all that fun kind of stuff. But they were they were part of the same whole in a lot of
Yes.
ways, and so that balance even there. Um, One of the things that I see that you describe yourself as is king. And I would love to know what that means to you to be a king.
What that means to me is to have complete freedom of my life, what I do with my life, my
Mm.
time. I mentioned that I was in surgery for a long time, and I realized, working in that field, um, that you can be very successful and still be a failure.
Oof.
uh, in that world, yeah, I was successful, making six figures and doing everything. But, I was giving the best of myself to the job, to this entity, and then dragging the worst of myself back home. And that just wasn't right. And I had to realize, like, all this education that we get, we think we're moving up this ladder. Um, but, like, what are we using this education for at the end of the day? Who's profiting from our education? Um, I mean, whatever we're bringing home, someone else is making 10 times as much somewhere. Uh, and I just got tired of that.
Yeah.
So that's what allowed me to kind of free myself of that. And once you reclaim your time, once you reclaim your mind, once you reclaim your health, nobody can nobody can stop you. There's no barriers. Um, that's what that means to me. Being my own person, being in charge of everything, everything.
And it seems that what goes along with that is that
Mhm.
idea of intense personal responsibility, not playing the blame game, with
No,
other people,
no.
but taking it all in.
You have to take responsibility. You have to be honest and vulnerable with yourself. You can't just sweep things under the rug,
Hmm.
because they'll pile up, and then it'll burst. It'll burst on you. And now is not the time for that to happen. I mean, we're in some different times, and self-care is a must.
Hmm.
Um, we have to bring ourselves to another level, or else we're just going to get swept away with everybody else. um, so we need leaders, we need people to educate, we need people to wake up out here. we need people to be their best mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all the way around.
Thank you for adding the emotionally part, because that seems to be a part that we often overlook, or that is one element that really
Yeah,
does get pushed under the rug,
it does,
especially for men.
especially for men too. Especially for men. You know, we like to be big and bad and strong and not cry and not show our feelings and everything and hold it in and puff our chest up. And society tells us that's what manhood is all about, but that's not. That's some male toxicity, and it's some dangerous stuff because it bleeds like generationally. And if you don't break that trend, it will stay in your family. And the best thing to do is just get it out.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable, be open. That's the only way to grow, um, is to confront your fears, basically, because you'll soon realize that everything you ever wanted was on the other side of that fear. Like once you step over that, and that's what I've noticed, and that's another aspect of being a king. Like once you realize that it's your own fear that's really stopping you from doing all these things that you see other people doing, uh, you become like this locomotive, and you can't stop. So believe in yourself. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. And you recently shared some perspectives on the importance of the queen as well, and the role of the
Yes,
queen. And is there anything you'd like to add or say about that?
mothers, women, ladies, females. I mean, you guys have all the power. I'll say it. You heard it here. You guys have all the power. Uh, you guys are the teachers. You're the leaders. You're who holds the communities together. You're the ones who lead us, who birth us. You're the first. You're the first face we see. You give us our first love. You're the ones who we cry out for, in our last moments. It's because you're the first one. You're the passers on. You're why we're all here.
Hmm.
Uh, and the sooner we get back to realizing that and um, cherishing that, I think the sooner our country, our world will get back to a positive light, to a positive manner. I think that's when the real healing will begin, when we start honoring our women, and lifting them up, not to equals, because you guys are much greater than anything. You're the strongest entities that have ever walked on this planet.
Mm.
Your energy that you bring is magnificent, and the sooner we realize that and embrace it, the better off we'll be.
Wow. Thank you.
She
Just
didn't
thank you.
pay
I've
me to
never heard
say
it.
that either. She didn't
Yeah,
pay
I've,
me to
I've
say
never heard it put
that.
like that. And it's refreshing and encouraging to even hear those kinds of words. Um, and it seems that there's such an opportunity for, kind of that alchemical marriage of the divine masculine, the divine feminine, both within each of us,
Yes.
honoring those points of ourself, and then in how we relate to one another.
Hmm.
It reminds me of the ancient Egyptian story of the battle between Horus and Set, and
Yes.
when Horus lost the left eye. And part of the story around that battle is that we had all these capacities, all these gifts and talents and senses, but when Horus lost the left eye, it's like the right part of the brain, so that more divine feminine aspect,
Hmm.
the intuition, the clairs, whether it's clairvoyance,
Yeah.
clairsentience, pick your stuff. But it's like that divine feminine aspect was never lost, but devalued, maybe.
Yes.
and both within the feminine person, but also the divine feminine within every man, within every person too, that ability to lean into intuition, to lean into flow, to lean into compassion and nurturing, as well as hold that balance, as you talked about, with the logic and the structures and putting together the plans and protection and providing and all the stuff that allows us to move forward as individuals or as a species. And
that's why Sekhmet was the lioness, because she still has that motherly, loving quality. But don't test the mother lion, because she'll get you with that paw as well. So it's that balance of the masculine, the feminine, the powerful, the nurturing. And when you have that balance, that's why realizing and harnessing that feminine side, that feminine energy is important, because it gives you that balance. And that's where the working through the toxic masculinity, releasing that and moving past that, and upgrading your mindset and really accepting that in your heart, that's when you can really grow as an individual, as a whole, as a human, embracing that, having that balance, finding Ma'at. It's great.
Thank you for sharing all that. I have a feeling that where you are now spiritually is maybe, I'm guessing, but maybe not where you started, and that it's been
Absolutely
a bit of
not.
a journey. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are now in your connection to the divine?
Well, I was actually raised Church of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't thinking on my own then. I'll just put it that way. I was raised Church of Christ. I went to church on Sunday, Wednesday, believed all the stories, all the Bible and everything, and took everything as black and white, good versus evil, all of that. And getting older, I started to question things and think on my own and be like, wait a minute, that just doesn't seem quite right. Or maybe there's another way of thinking about it. Maybe we don't have to take this so literally. Maybe it's maybe these are just examples that we can live by. And once I started my yoga journey, and finding different paths and everything, I stumbled upon Kemetic Yoga and Egyptian yoga. And then as a kid, I had always been drawn to the Egyptian history and everything. I remember, ruffling through old National Geographic magazines and finding all the King Tut exhibits and all that stuff. And I remember we used to go see those things, and I was always drawn to that, but didn't know why. But I remember I would have dreams and things like that. So once I found out that this yoga practice was in Egypt for thousands of years, this is something that they practiced, and with all the knowledge and everything, I just decided to dive in deeper. And once I uncovered that rabbit hole, like there was no stopping. I feel like I'm a teacher, but a brand new student at the same time. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I should never feel like that's the way life should be. Anything like you want to keep growing, and that's what this is all about. It's a journey about growing and finding better new ways of living and communicating and interacting with people, and loving people. That's what we're about, and also being at our optimal health and wellness, mentally, physically, spiritually. That's what whole wellness is about. That's what real wellness is about, and that's what brings the real healing.
You had mentioned, losing 100 pounds.
Yes.
And and there may have been some other health challenges that went
Mhm.
along, along the way. What was it that within your own mind, or what was it that helped you make a shift to allow
Well,
that different approach to health to be possible?
so I had been working in the healthcare field, and I started seeing myself in my patient population.
Mm,
Like I was 100 pounds overweight. I was, tired, lethargic, stressed out, overworked. But that was my normal. And, I'd been getting migraines and everything.
mm,
And one day I needed to go to the ER, and I found out that I had a brain tumor.
yikes.
This was
Mm,
in, yeah, October
mm.
of 2016. And it was the size of a tennis ball.
Oh,
And yeah,
that's a
and
wake-up call. Woo.
that is a wake up call. But I had the surgery, and that just put things in perspective for me. I was like, I need to change things around. And my wife, she got me on this program, health and
Hmm.
wellness program, lost 100 pounds. And once I began to think clearly, I began to realize that I needed better for myself. I
Mm,
needed to be a better version of myself. And me working in this healthcare field wasn't allowing me to be the full best version of myself that I needed to be. Um, I think in society doesn't want us to be the best versions of ourselves. They want the version of ourselves that fits within their system. Um,
okay. And
and
can be
so,
controlled.
so what do we have to do? We have to suppress who we really are, and
Mhm.
that's very traumatic. People don't understand that suppressing who you really are. That's very traumatic on your soul, and on who you are, on your psyche. So once I knew that I couldn't grow, basically, I couldn't grow in the same soil that was poisoning me. Uh,
Whoa, there you
so
go.
I had to step away from that life, that whole lifestyle, and it caused me a lot of anxiety because I didn't have an identity outside of surgery. Like I didn't know who Michael was, or what he
Mhm.
wanted, or who he wanted to be. I knew that I was more than what I was. I knew that from childhood. When I was when I was looking at Egyptian pharaohs and things like that, and marveling about that, and wanting to know about my history, and things like that, and being more than what society was portraying me as. I knew I was more than all of these things. Um, so that's what put me on that journey of some kind of self-discovery. Once I reclaimed my energy, my physical body, my mind, then I had the mindset to change my spirit and my soul,
Mm.
and I began to grow. Then once I reached that, I was able to grow.
It's like you were being fertilized instead of
It
poison in the soil.
That's, yes, that's what it was.
Mm.
um I was able to actually get some real air. I was able to breathe for the first time. And it's good for the person, it's bad for the system. And
Mm.
you'll see, once you free your mind and you no longer fit into the system, you'll either destroy yourself trying to still work within the system, or the system will destroy you, one of the two. So you have to completely separate, basically,
Yep.
and start anew. Start doing basically what you want to do, what you were born to do.
Seems that there's quite a few of us on this planet right now who are system busters in some way or another,
Yeah.
who recognize it's almost as if it's been a system of enslavement that, societal, that we're all trapped in. And it's time to bust out of that.
It's time to bust out. I call it like living the life of the magician.
Mm,
uh we live these magical lives. Like, I see what you're doing out there, you're doing great work. People see what I'm doing, working from home, opening a yoga studio,
mm,
having a health and wellness consulting business, and all this stuff. And people were like, wow, he was just like busting his butt in surgery, doing all of this. Now he's doing this. Um, and I used to see people doing that as well. But I was like, oh, you know, that's for them. That kind of life is for them. I can't do that. I've got these bills to pay and things like that. That's like living the life of the magician. Everybody loves magic, but nobody wants to take that leap to actually be a magician.
Yeah.
And once you take that leap and realize that, oh, it's really not that hard to do these magic tricks, then you can just your like whole life starts becoming like this magic show. And you can help people, and you can help people learn and help people grow.
It's like the heart of alchemy right there, you know,
Yes.
the heart of alchemy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about your yoga studio, and is it up and open, and can people come and
We are
take classes
having
now?
our first classes on the 15th. Yes,
Getting
yes. It is
soon.
called Sun People Yoga. And it is the first BIPOC owned yoga studio in Tulsa. I don't know in Oklahoma, but I know in Tulsa. And we are really excited to bring a safe place, to bring a home for people who, because we know people were out there, because we were out there. You know,
Yeah.
I was going around and I could not find a place that I felt, you know, real safe, where I could put my guard down and actually concentrate on a practice, on freeing myself. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring a place for everyone. You know, everyone is welcome. Everyone who wants to grow. But there's a specific medicine that I needed, that my wife needed, that people who look and think like us, you know, needed. And so we're really excited. We are really excited. I'm super excited to be teaching. You know, this is going to be my first time teaching. You know, I never knew that my life would be on this path. Yoga teacher, no, but
Maybe
here I
that
am.
to yoga teacher.
Yeah, I
Love it.
know, right? But here I am. I'm really excited. I'm glad. I know what yoga and the mental practice has helped me with. You know, I suffered from PTSD for a long time from military service. You know, I'm a 9/11 era vet. I was actually in the Pentagon during 9/11, and that's some things that I dealt with for a long time. And it comes also with that vulnerability. Once you know, I was able to heal from that and manage that when that vulnerability came and was accepted, and that it was okay to get help. You know, that mental health aspect is something that's really precious. And the more that we open up, especially men, the more that we open up and deal with that, and you know, embrace that hurt and that fear. It's like I'll bring surgical references when we're cleaning out wounds. Like it's a nasty process, but you have to dig down in there and clean out the nasty gunk to get to the clean parts that can heal. You can't just keep putting bandages over it, because guess what? It's still going to stink. It's still going to fester. You gotta rip those bandages off and clean it out. It's going to hurt a little bit, but in the end, you'll everyone around you will benefit.
That's a great analogy, a great analogy. And I also appreciate the fact I too was in the Washington, D.C. area over 9/11. And it was such, I mean, for the nation, but also for individuals that were close, you know, in that it was such a, definitely a point of trauma, and um, an opportunity for strength and for growth in some different ways. And I think you just hit on that it allowed you to go deep and look at some of the things that needed to be healed. And boy, it put my mind and heart on a different trajectory too.
Yeah, it you know, for a long time I tried to, just push it down and be the
You're the man.
bad guy and everything. And yeah, I would break down sometimes and just suck it up, and not want to, I'm not one of those vets that suffers from this. And I would actually kind of wear it as a badge of honor, like, yeah, I was there, blah blah blah. But it wasn't until I found the safety to
Mm,
be able to like acknowledge that I was dealing with this, that I was able to actually heal, and I had to embrace it. That's what I had to do. I had to embrace that hurt,
oh,
and it was able to help me grow and not move past it, but move with it. Like
mm,
I still have, you know, still have breakdowns every now and then. Not breakdowns, but you know what I mean. But I'm able to move with it. My wife helps me a lot. She's able to recognize when triggers happen and things like that. And she's there to give me a pat on the back. And she knows that I'm taking those steps to move past that. So it's all about healing. I thank you for sharing that you were there. It seems like a long time ago, but
it
but
does.
for the people who were affected by it, I think about it all the time.
There's still energetic triggers that hit me, and it's more of an energetic or sound or it
Yeah,
just
for
certain
me,
things
for me,
that
it
I'm like,
was yes, it was. We'll have to talk about this more.
yeah,
Um, but yes, it was sounds or smells, uh, you know, just memories. I'd start gazing off and all this stuff. Um, but we learn how to embrace that and not cut it out. We can't just cut it away from our lives, like it's a part of us. And you grow around those things. You don't remove them. You learn from them.
I love how you said before it was like you don't necessarily grow past, but you grow with or grow through. And
Yeah,
that's a really different way of looking at things that, that especially if we have the opportunity to see ourselves getting stronger because of the experience rather than allowing the experience to make us weaker or,
yeah.
to where we react in a way that's weaker. Um,
When we
sometimes
embrace that fear, it takes away its power.
yeah,
And
that's
that's what I
absolutely
realized when I embraced it and like used it. It was almost like a martial art, and that's one way yoga helped me.
mm,
I use yoga, and that's what our kind of theme at our studio is. Like, we didn't want it in a trendy part of town and things like that. Like, when you think about martial arts studios, you go there for the practice. You don't go because it's on Cherry Street, it's on Brookside or something like that. You go
yeah,
for the
yeah,
and that's what my yoga practice is. It's like a martial art, and it helped me embrace that fear, and it helped me embrace that vulnerability. And I used it instead of as a weakness. I turned it around and used it as a strength.
absolutely.
So it made me stronger once I built myself around it. Instead of removing it, it gave me a more solid foundation for who I was.
Mm. Yeah, it
And now
seems to
I'm able
me,
to help other people,
yeah.
open up and talk about their issues with that.
Mm. To me, that's what the heart of a king is kind of all about, right? Having
Yes.
that courage to, sorry, my dad, who's in a nursing home, just keeps calling.
Hey.
I'll get back to you, Dad. Hold on. Um, but that willingness to look what hurts in the eye, in the heart, in the face, whatever, and
Yeah.
see what we can learn from it and how we can grow through it or with it. That to me, that kind of vulnerability, that's what courage is really all about, and bringing all of that to bear, allowing that to be, what really helps fuel the heart as well, putting the heart in, part of our wholeness is not
Yes.
forgetting the heart too. But it seems to me that's where real strength comes from.
It's facing that fear and saying, yes, I'm scared. I may not know what to do. I may not have a complete plan, but I'm here. And I'm gonna deal with this, and I'm gonna take action steps, and I may have to take a step back, but it's gonna allow me to learn, and I'm gonna take that forward.
Perfect.
Well,
if I can ask you one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just when you think about, and this is a question I ask all the guests, but when you think about the spiritual path and think about the road you've been on, if you were to boil down kind of your beliefs in something bite-sized, if that's possible, that you can share with us, what is it that you believe?
I believe that we are all good. I believe that we make choices, and we don't like to be held accountable for choices. I believe that we are all special. I believe that we need to we just need to come together and help each other out. We're all hurting out here. And the sooner that we accept that we're hurting for whatever reason, and say, you know what, I see your pain, I see you hurting, and I just want to acknowledge that. The sooner we just acknowledge each other's pain and each other's struggle and trauma, the sooner we can grow as humans on this planet that's spinning around in this universe that we know nothing about. Put all the smartest people together that's ever lived, and they don't know anything. Let's just get through today.
Yeah, I love that. We're all good. And if you look at the words of Ram Dass, for example, that we're all just walking each other home.
Yeah.
Wherever we think home is, but we're all just walking each other home. And so acknowledging that we all have struggles, we all have pain, we all have trauma, even though we might look different, we might believe different, we might live different or think different or whatever.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we all have in common. And when we can go from a place of shared, experience, even though it might look different, to a place of willingness to be understanding and compassionate and have empathy and have love and move forward from there.
Be open.
That's healing. That's
all you have to do is be open.
Be open. I love it.
And you can grow.
So how can people find you? They want to learn more about Sun People Yoga or about Michael Ruth?
Sunpeopleyoga.com. You can go to onrampwellness.com. Or you can look me up on Facebook, Michael Ruth. I'm there. You know where to find me. This has been great. Thank you so much for reaching out and allowing me to be on this platform, this wonderful platform. You're doing great work. I love your energy. You've got a beautiful smile. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
I'll give you that.
That's what jumped out at me about you. Oh. Your smile and your energy just flew through the picture. And I have so enjoyed this and really appreciate your time and extend my gratitude to your wife as well. It sounds like she is an amazing woman. And I love hearing how supported you feel in your relationship. And I think that is incredibly important.
I absolutely will. She has been an integral part in my existence, in my survival. She's actually my health coach.
I love it.
I was her first client, and she's the one that convinced me to be a health coach. And then we opened up our business. So we're both health coaches. We both came from a professional medical background. She's a pharmacist, but we do this full time, and we teach yoga full time, and that's what we do. Life is good. Yoga and making people healthy, it's great.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And to everyone who's listened and or watched today, thank you for your time and interest in Dirt Road Divinity and in these inspiring, I love these conversations because I always end up inspired and motivated and thinking in a new and different way. And that's kind of the point of the entire series. So Michael, thank you for bringing your insights and wisdom to the audience today. I look forward to continuing conversations with you because I want to come check out your yoga studio too. I want to see what Kemetic yoga is all about because I'm fascinated. And for the rest of you, I will look forward to talking to you next week on Dirt Road Divinity.